Welcome back to the APAC playoffs. We are here, and today, two more teams qualify for the 6th major in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mandy, it's been a pretty action-packed couple weeks. We are now halfway through the playoffs, but we're about to determine the final two teams who are going on through.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a day full of very exciting games, very high-stakes games for all four teams competing today in the APAC playoffs.
Especially since we've already started with the eliminations in this playoff so far. Yesterday, we sent two teams home. It was heartbreak for Korea and heartbreak as well for Oceania, but both of those regions still have representatives and are going to be gunning everything they can do to get through to the major tonight. But last night was pretty hectic. We started off and it was a fairly quiet beginning between Elevate and Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. Knights coming in, they actually took a gamble here on Theme Park. We've never seen them play it before, but they brought a lot of creativity and innovation. In the end, actually, Elevate managed to counter-strat them and find the better of them in this particular map.
Yeah, this is really exciting for us. We hadn't seen Theme Park up until this point, but Oregon proved to be a bit more of a cut-and-dried affair.
Yeah, the Knights, they really struggled out here on Oregon. They just couldn't find their footing, couldn't find any momentum in the game. And Elevate took the ground running with Mark back-to-back 3Ks, back-to-back 4Ks to eventually bring it home for Elevate on this map.
Yeah, really nuts. And you could see the energy from Elevate. They absolutely had Knights' number. By the end of the game, it was clear who was going to take it. And as well, for it to finish on a 1v2 clutch is always so exciting. Elevate have had a lot of hype since coming back from the 6th Invitational, where they exceeded expectations. And, well, of course, that hype has now continued for Sandbox and the Chiefs as well.
Sandbox and the Chiefs taking us to Cafe, which we thought was going to be very one-sided to the side of Sandbox, but Chiefs, they really brought the fight on Cafe, bringing it to a 5-7 scoreline.
Yeah, we didn't necessarily expect that Sandbox would let it go to Skyscraper as the second map. It was the only map that they actually lost during APAC North, and Chiefs showed up hugely. The
Chiefs, they had their number, they did their homework on Sandbox, and they took them to Skyscraper, like you said, the only map that they lost the entire group stage. And Sandbox, they really struggled out in this map. The Chiefs, they definitely know how to play Skyscraper.
And map 3 started with a bang, an unexpected one. Digital actually impacting his teammates, but following that, this proved to be a really tense map 3 and the culmination where one of these teams had to get eliminated.
Trading rounds and rounds back and forth between these two teams, and eventually the Chiefs winning out the one critical attack round that they had to win to close out the match here on Clubhouse.
And it was the end of the line for NV Taylor, for Sandbox Gaming as a whole, as the Korean fans looked to the team that they have time and time again championed, but it was the Chiefs to knock them out. And as a result, we had a pretty long night, not the full 6 max possible, but while we did see Sandbox and Knights get eliminated, Elevate and Chiefs will continue on to today.
Elevate finding another chance to punch their way through the playoffs bracket. Let's hope that they not repeat history and they can make it into the Charlotte Major. And the Chiefs also looking to repeat their formatted international event.
That's it. It's a bit heartbreaking, I will say, for Sandbox and Knights, though, saying goodbye to them yesterday. Knights in particular, my heart goes out to them because 9 months ago they qualified for the August Major in Mexico last year. Due to travel restrictions, weren't able to participate, and then they just missed out this year, which is pretty devastating for them. Sandbox, a similar story with them going to so many international opportunities, but of course you have to make way for new teams to rise up, and that's what we're seeing now from Elevate and Chiefs, who have been fighting through this lower bracket. Elevate and the Chiefs, two teams that we know oh so well in APAC South, but teams that have stumbled time and time again and also found themselves with a lot of roster changes in Stage 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Chiefs, they've gone through a period of adversity. In the last interview that we did with Worthy, he commented that it was really sort of an uphill battle for them this stage. They just had to stick with it and push through the stage to keep their roster together and, I guess, bounce back again in this playoffs bracket.
And they've done that, actually. We can have a look at the bracket and see the way that Chiefs and Elevate have bounced back. They all started in that upper bracket, was sent down to the lower, and now have had a victory. We're going to be focusing in on those lower bracket round 2 games, while Cyclops and Direwolves in the upper bracket have already qualified for the 6th major. Of course, even once we qualify the 4 teams, we've got to play out the rest of the bracket to determine the seeding, to determine who is the APAC champion in Stage 1. But right now our focus is on 4 teams: TALON, Elevate, Damwon Kia, and the Chiefs.
These 4 teams have to battle out in the trench of the lower bracket to eventually find their place here at the Charlotte Major.
It's going to be a real big slog for these teams. They've been fighting all stage long for this chance. TALON in particular, it's crazy to me that we have, firstly, 3 Korean teams out of 8 total APAC teams in this bracket. Goes to show how far Korea have come. Unfortunately, they had to say goodbye to Sandbox. Talon has never even made it to an APAC playoffs, and they're already just one BO3 away from qualifying for a major.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is Talon, this is their BO3 test, right? Because they've never made it into playoffs, they've never made it into the major. The only thing that they've been put up against is best of ones, right? In the group stage, this is the first time that their map pool is going to be tested against the map pool of all their other opponents and see if they can pick out, I guess, if the other opponents can pick out their weaknesses.
Well, I know someone else is going to be tested tonight. Guz, I think that you're going to have to do your... Oh, no, were you just flossing, mate?
I am.
Okay, never mind. Rob, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, look, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I got a co-caster that flosses, so I could be better, all things considered, couldn't I, guys?
Yeah.
Couldn't I?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that all?
fantastic? That's a fantastic check-in.
That's
Yep.
almost as good as Worthy's interview, mate. But look, thanks for checking in, and good luck in your cast later. Hope you conserve your energy, Guz. Don't get too excited too early.
I won't.
Calm down. Calm down.
All right, we'll see you later, guys. They're not giving me anything, Mandy. They really aren't.
No, nothing, really.
I hope they bring up the energy before we actually get to casting.
Yeah, absolutely. We need that energy today.
Yeah, we certainly will. And I think the gamers will deliver that energy, right? We've
Yeah.
got some pretty keen ones that we're going to be starting. Talon and Elevate is the first match. We've talked a little bit about Talon. We've talked a little bit about Elevate already, but just remembering that this is such a big opportunity. Technically, neither of these teams have never played a major. Elevate made it to SI, but that's not a major. Talon, on the other hand, I mean, it's a miracle that they're here in the first place.
Yeah, I think we're really back in Talon here to see if they can show their form in this playoffs bracket, right? They've never been at this level, so they really need to prove that they deserve to be here. On the other hand, we have Elevate, right? They have been to an international event, and so they're looking to repeat their form and prove to us, yes, they are worthy of being a global team.
I think both of these teams have some question marks over their heads. Elevate have made serious roster changes coming into this stage. Talon are yet to prove that they are capable of taking it to a major. So let's start breaking down this Korean team. They've had some pretty amazing performances in the past. They've won seasons of Korea Open, but are they capable of taking down Elevate here? That's the real question.
Talon, yeah, they've had new roster changes as well. 8 months ago, I believe, was the last 2 changes that came into their roster. But it seems like the roster is working out for them. They are finding their footing, particularly here in this stage 1 of APAC Pro League. Something that Summer Rain commented actually about this team was that Talon, with a little bit more refining, they could be a really amazing team, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, and well, despite not being quite there yet, it's amazing to think that they were 1 round off qualifying for that major. They went to Dire Wolves, they pushed them all 3 maps, and they lost 8-7. 8-7, it was so damn close. And if we remember that game from last week on Skyscraper was the decider, that was phenomenal. That was so exciting, and it was barely a victory for Dire Wolves. So Talon, they have that confidence. They've had a week break. They've been watching Elevate fight it out in the lower bracket. I think that they've got what it takes, to be honest. Like, this is a team that is just trying to take that next step. The question is, will that pressure get to them?
Yeah, absolutely. That Skyscraper game lasted such a long time. I imagine the fatigue was really starting to hit some of these players. Talon, they really tested in stamina in the best of 3 format, I think is what we find here in this playoffs bracket.
And of course, there's going to be a lot of a test for Elevate, who have, believe it or not, never qualified for a 6 major. Time and time again in 2021, this was the team that we expected to represent APAC South on the international stage, and they choked again and again. Every series point that could have qualified them to a major, they choked them all. Finally made it to 6 Invitational, and oh boy, that was a treat.
Elevate, they do have a bit of a curse going for them for these international events, but this new roster they've formed together has a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Last time we interviewed Onigiri, asking him questions about Mr. Punch and Mark, he actually gave credit to their last coach to say, Mr. Punch and Mark, they have excellent fundamentals. They know exactly how to play proper Rainbow Six, and that made the transition into Elevate very easy. So we look towards this roster to be a very successful one here in stage 1.
There were big shoes to fill for Mark and Mr. Punch, right? Losing Nerix and Napier, both which were phenomenal players for this roster, but they have delivered. Like, we saw Mark step up yesterday, back-to-back 4Ks, which we saw. Onigiri, of course, needs no introduction. If you watch 6 Invitational, you may well have seen him drop, was it 27
kills?
27 kills in a single map. Unreal. This team is certainly capable of making waves, but are they going to be able to deal with the pressure? Because they have admitted That is the absolute biggest weakness. These guys can be anxiety monsters when it comes to these high-pressure games.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they are cursed, I think, with international events. So we really want to see this roster break the curse. In terms of the roster dynamic, I really feel like Elevate and Talon, they have that kind of similar storyline going where they're a roster that's getting there, new roster changes coming in, but not quite there yet. And this is their stage to prove that they are ready for these global events.
And it's not just about proving to make a point, right? It's proving it to make it to a major. And I think that the theme of this coming six major in Charlotte, North Carolina is underdogs. Like we've already seen NA have locked in their top 4 teams, right? And you've got XSET in Australia, so have never played a major before. In APAC, we've already got Direwolves who are going to be going to a major. You've got Heroic from EU, for goodness sake. Like even W7M from Latin America. Like it is crazy how many underdog, how many new blood teams are going to be at the Charlotte major. Elevate might not really count as that, but Talon do. So if anything, they do have that Charlotte major underdog buff going for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the vibe going for them, if you will. Talon, they'll be looking to make their very first appearance on the international stage. It's very exciting for them.
But of course, it's a BO3. We have 9 maps in the pool. There is more pressure than ever to be a well-rounded team. And these teams, well, we're going to have to see where that BO3 veto takes us to. Let's have a look. Clubhouse, as Talon kicks off the ban. Cafe banned by Elevate. Villa is the first pick for Talon, and we will get to see Skyscraper as well.
Ooh, exciting. Villa.
Hey, take some notes.
Talon are pretty proficient at Villa. They've played quite a lot of it, even just in this playoffs bracket. I believe they've played quite a set amount of Villa already, and they're very good at it as well. I'm surprised that Elevate have actually let this slip through the ban phase.
It's hard though, right? Like, yeah, you get 2 bans before you get to start picking, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier. Exciting for Talon though, they will get to retry Villa. They beat Direwolves there, right?
Yeah.
Direwolves already qualified for the major. It was an 8-6, it was not a cut and dried game, and Villa is a map that we have seen Elevate already play in the playoffs as well, lost it to Cyclops. So it does feel like Villa probably going to be a Talon backing in. What about Skyscraper though?
Skyscraper, I'm not too sure. We did see Talon play it. It's a bit of a curse as well.
That was the 8-7 loss.
That was back and forth for them. They didn't look super dominant on it, but they really took the fight to Direwolves. It just came down to that very final round of Direwolves closing it out. So I would back in Talon. They do know how to play Skyscraper. I'm not sure if we've seen much of Skyscraper from Elevate though.
I'm having a look right now. We saw them play in Operation Thailand a couple of times, but I think this will be the debut for Elevate playing Skyscraper at like a proper tier 1 level. So definitely a test for them. Exciting that they picked it as well.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's their pick as well, so we were expecting big things.
Gives me vibes of when Chiefs picked it against Invictus in the final play day and slapped them silly 7-2. So, oh wait, no, Elevate did play against Invictus. Remember that nuts game from the APAC South season?
That allowed them to be here.
Well, they technically lost that game, but it did just barely give them enough points to get across the line.
Yep.
I think one thing that's clear is that I think all 3 of these maps are going to be tight. If we get to Bank, it's not a map that either of these teams play very much, so that could be good. That could be exciting.
Yes.
But I don't know if this has changed how I feel about the series. I honestly couldn't split hairs between these 2 teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the vibe for these 2 teams is very much the same, right? They have new players. So the team is getting there. They have the fundamentals and they're super good at it. But it's about refining it down so they can do more advanced strategies, more advanced types of plays coming into these matches, right? And so it's about, I guess, bringing up that cohesion of the roster and proving themselves on this stage.
That feels like the win condition.
Yeah.
It feels like for these teams to get it across the line, it's making sure that they can perform to the level that we know they can perform at, right? But when you're in these big games, the chemistry starts to fall apart. We saw yesterday Chiefs Digital impacted 2 of his teammates at the start of the first round of the final map. Like, that is the kind of thing we need those mistakes eliminated. These teams need to be on their A game to promote through and go to the major.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be really looking to these teams to see if they've learnt anything over these past few months. Now that they have the fundamentals down, can we see more innovation, more unique, exciting strategies? Something that's a bit more advanced and much more difficult for the other team to counter. Something like that. I would really like to see the next step for both of these rosters.
It would be huge to see Talon make it on through. It would be huge to see Elevate as well. It would be their first 6 major and a chance for them to prove that this roster change was worth it as well. Who you got?
Sorry?
Who you got to win? Who you reckon's going to do it?
To win. That is such a tough choice.
I'll make it easier for you. Who you got on map 1?
Who have I got on map 1? I think I'm going to back in Talon for map 1.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a little bit easier to predict.
It does feel like we've had a fair share of games here where it's like, you know, map pick is won by each team.
Yeah.
And then we go to Cider.
Yeah.
Starting to get the vibes here that we're going to have to finish this on bank.
I also think that we're going to have to finish this game on bank. But yeah, like you said, I think Villa will probably go to Talon. They did pick it. And Skyscraper, oh gosh, Elevate, what have you got to show for us? It's brand new.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is going to be a fantastic game no matter what. Honestly, what else to dive into? But Talon, we talked to Summer the other day about how Korea has developed. It's phenomenal to see the step up that the entire region has had. We've had 3 Korean teams in the playoffs bracket, Talon being one of them. This is also proving a point not just for them and their team, but also for their region as a whole. When Sandbox is pushed aside in the lower bracket, when Dam 1 is going to feel that pressure against Chiefs later, there's not just Talon's own pressure on the weight of their shoulders, it's also that entire region as well.
Yeah, it's a bit scary when you put it that way, actually. But like, I have a lot of faith in this Korean region, to be honest. The 2 interviews that we got that talked about Korea, the first one being from Summer Rain, talking about how the Korean teams have really come into form this stage. But the second one was ED at the very start of these playoffs. He commented these Korean teams have a lot of coordination and a much stronger teamwork capacity than the rest of the teams in APAC, which is quite interesting to me. Whereas on the side of Elevate, I think they bring a bit more chaotic energy into it. They look for more individualistic plays. So there's a very big difference in play style between these 2 teams.
Yeah, we're certainly going to be looking for that from Talon to make sure that everything works like clockwork, and for Elevate to bring that classic aggression that we know they are so good for. But Guz and Rob, you guys are going to be the caster for this game. I hope you've woken up, Guz. I'm glad to see you're not doing any shenanigans anymore. You awake now, mate?
Yeah, I am ready. Don't sound too excited at the moment, but you have to reserve your energy in these best of 3s, Rob. So
That's true.
yeah,
It is true.
We'll take it easy at the start.
Yeah, generally it does take a little bit to get into these best of 3s. You look at pretty much every game that we've played so far in the playoffs. Map 1, Map 2, generally, it kind of treks along. I mean, if you take away Playday 2 that we saw 79 rounds for, generally it does kind of build into a third map that obviously gives us a little bit more action. Chiefs game yesterday was probably a very good example of that. Direwolves game last week as well, a good example of that. But keeping our attention to this matchup in particular, I don't know where I sit with Elevate at the moment. It's been a really, really turbulent, I think, 12 months for them, you know, going from stage 1 of 21 where they finished first place, only losing 1 game in the regular season, to them missing out on international opportunity after international opportunity after international opportunity. Now they have a really big opportunity.
That's the storyline, right? Elevate just cannot convert these major opportunities, get them across the line, but now they're going to try and prove their worth, and hunting them down is Talon. Social vote, super close, and honestly I have to back the community in. I have no idea who's going to win this.
No, 53% just edging out toward Elevate, and truth be told, I mean, we're APAC South biased a little bit, so I'm always going to back in the APAC South team. However, Talon have shown us in stage 1 of 22 what they're willing to sacrifice, what they're willing to do to make it to a major. They have already performed heads and shoulders above some of the teams that we may have expected. And it's their opportunity. Villa is where we start this best of 3. Kickstarting it with the Jackal ban.
Talon will look to back that up with their Soul Attack ban. Twitch off the board first, so Thatcher survives, double hard breach, or all hard breach rather, do also make it through the attacking ban phase. Quite intriguing here on Villa. As we head into the bans now. Mirror off the board first. I mean, pretty expected on this map. Quite powerful. That said, even at the moment with yellow ping meta, nades below, I wouldn't say she's overly strong, but probably an operator that you don't want to deal with just for the frustration factor and the fact that it will sync up utility. That leaves Elevate, obviously, for the final ban. They'll take their time. Force me to draw this out a little bit. And it's Valkyrie, who, again, post-nerf, super strong. There's black eye cameras, particularly indoors on Villa. There's a lot of spots you can hide them, so alleviates the pressure of having to potentially play an IQ to hunt them down. And across the board, outside of maybe the Twitch, ban phase pretty expected.
Yeah. Defense, a little bit of that intel game is going to be diminished. So we'll wait and see what they pick into and how they decide to counter that. The big one for me probably is the Twitch ban in all of this. I mean, Jackal you could probably give and take. I don't really know how I feel about Jackal bans. Like when we're still leaving...
I like them in ranked. Jackal's really annoying.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I feel like if you're Elevate, I can understand the Jackal ban for sure, because we know that on their defense they do like to roam on a Geary, you know, quite well known for just his general prowess as an individual player, let alone as somewhat of a roamer, can cause a bit of a nuisance. So I do get that ban, but it's the Twitch ban for me. You're leaving in all the hard breaches. You then leave in, you know, you're leaving in the Flores and the Thatcher. I'll be keen to see whether this is something that Talon have actually read into and kind of see Elevate using. I think we did see them use it a little bit throughout the playoff series so far. So far, so good. Focusing on this first round, AVG really needing to kickstart this with a bang is Elevate, because I think I would back in what Mandy was saying in terms of where this map's going to head. Talon should, I'm not going to say easily, but should easily be able to take this game.
Elevate on flip side defending AVG for the first round in this match, and Talon going for a direct hit over towards study balcony. Soldier as well prepping down below main door. Might look to need out the position that DCH is playing. In the meantime, he'll just drone and take his time. I believe there was a mute jammer placed below, so that might be a little bit annoying. Either way, though, deployable shield at top brown, I believe, has been cleared. In fact, it will be now with that Rotero. DCH under the pump.
Good thing, at least for Elevate right now, is Talon really haven't backed up on top of those Rotero drones. They're just using them to clear the utility. Now they'll start to put a bit of pressure toward DCH. Toms is the aim of the game here, as slowly and surely Elevate might actually back away, but I do like that from DCH. He gets aggressive, and the young gunner and soldier is well and truly ready for it on a Geary with the trade, makes it back up the staircase as well. He's barely done reloading before he peeks again. Very overzealous.
Unnecessary there, but Mark looking now for the late trade inside of Library, holding the bottom of this brown stairs position, trying to alleviate some of the pressure that the players on site may feel. Oh, he's been spotted though.
Wow.
Demic with info finds that pick, I can only assume, and now Talon with a 3-2 advantage.
Good read from Talon there. And honestly, big questions have to be asked from Onigiri. What are we doing continuing to push down Tom's, well, I guess just main stairs. You really should be either falling back or at the very least holding on the stairs, forcing Talon into a position where they're going to have to fight you. Look at the players still up for Talon, and Canos had an unbelievable impact in their best of 3 against Direwolves. Obviously not being able to edge out in front of that, but regardless, 3 versus 2, 35 seconds left.
Demic from below looks to land a nade, the final in the pocket, but it doesn't land. Talon looking to get some control and some presence inside of study. Demic might elect to rotate up top of red. He'll likely engage with Mr. Punch, who's on HP. A lot of the pressure here on Sapper to clutch up big.
15 seconds to go.
Takes his time here, pulls a shotgun, gets a little bit closer as well.
10 seconds to go.
Problem is, Sapper, I don't know whether he's going to be able to hold this down. SMG 11 in hand, he does find Canos. Rotate from Mr. Punch, this is really good. Skull unattended, and it's done. Elevate, play the time perfectly there, and force Talon into those opening engagements. Lovely first round for the defense.
Yeah, Talon had the advantage, but just wasted way too much time trying to prep for that final push. A little bit disjointed. That bar position not cleared as Demic didn't hit the nade, and then that sort of fortification made it pretty tough for them to push in. The lines of sight pre-established in the prep phase. Well utilized there. Elevate probably escaping a little bit in that round, but they'll take it nonetheless. Rotate over towards trophy stat and try and double up.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
4-2 pass mark here for me, for Elevate. And this is definitely a map that can very heavily sway toward the defender side. And I think when you kind of look at the bans as well, I think it even reinforces that a little bit more in terms of the attacker bans. You know, the Jackal, you are allowed to roam freely. So I think we're going to see Elevate, once they get comfortable, I think we're going to see them kind of extend from the sites a lot more than in that first round. That felt pretty safe. Obviously, you had Mark underneath looking for a library roam, and you also had Onigiri pushing down main, but I do foresee the need to waste time, especially when you're looking toward this side of the map. Like, you could really waste so much of the attacker's time. If you just show face and fall back, shoot some drones, this is where the game can get really spicy.
Talon once more, like the previous objective, going for a pretty head-on approach. This time, bedroom into stat. Plenty of tools in their arsenal. They were to go for this attack. Interesting that they're electing to bring Mav as opposed to maybe an ace to launch someone's from the balcony. Hold that thought as Marcus bathroom gets the first. A nice cheeky little angle to open up the account. Talon now on the back foot.
That was a lovely shot from Mark. Just a quick one and done. And now Talon, with the man down, have to be a little bit cautious about how they attack this site now.
Attackers have located a bomb.
You're a man down. Mr. Punch, Onigiri, pretty much on cue from what we were talking about. They will be well and truly extending. And what this allows Elevate to do is put a lot more pressure on the choke points, on the pressure points for Talon, which, you know, right now, bathroom, bedroom, this is pretty much the sole area of this attack. And with 1:30 left, they'll be able to start to hit those check marks bit by bit and continue one foot in front of the other.
Now we get to see how powerful and how impactful the Maverick will be in this round. Aziz with a line of sight. Gets shut down by ECH. Gets two, confirms the round essentially here for Elevate. Soldier tries to find a response, but there's nothing he can muster up. Now Demic in a 1 versus 5 outside of the balcony. 60 seconds remaining in the round, and it has been a disaster for Talon.
Absolutely love that from DCH. Doesn't get much better than that. Wide swing onto the hard breacher, and then a very quick second out by the window. And now Talon are just left kind of using the next 45 seconds, probably more so to think about what they're going to do. We see this quite often, you know, take the quote-unquote tactical timeout while the game still remains. Just start to talk about what seems to be going wrong so far. Talon seem to be not scrambling by any means, but it does feel a little bit disjointed in these attacks. And you want to try and get that under as soon as you can, especially against a team like Elevate, who, if Onigiri gets on a roll, boy, there's little that you can do to stop him. As the game slowly dwindles down now, it is all about what this next round will unfold. This is in the books for sure. We can rest and relax, as it's 2-0 up now for Elevate.
Mark starts it and he finishes it as well. Couple of nice plays from him inside a bathroom. DZH as well on the main wall. I think really exposing just the weakness of playing Maverick. I can't understand why you'd be playing Maverick on this side as opposed to at minimum Ace, potentially even Thermite. Yeah. Just ensure you're opening up these entry points. Now, it does have the weaknesses. Those rotations open up to the defense, but if your attack's tight enough, it's not really an issue. So, a little bit surprised Talon elected for that strategy, but again, Elevate on their toes, ready for it, able to shut it down and staring down the barrel of 3 straight, which would be a really nice start for them.
And a semi around the world. Definitely. That's a very... You'd have to be all smiles at that point. And I think that it is an interesting point you bring up about, you know, Maverick and the lack of an Ace or a Habana. Even if you bring a Thermite there, you're not really ever going to use it in that position. More so looking for those footholes, the murder hole in split and rotate. And more than likely, Elevate will turn into quite a top floor heavy kind of presence with Onigiri on the castle. I wonder where all those barricades have been. I actually haven't really paid attention as to where he's placed them, but nothing on the main doors. So I would dare say he's trying to slow down rotations over toward Mud, maybe China. Got a bit of support up on that top floor, so I wonder how much Elevate are really going to push into this top floor hold.
On the first 2 rounds, they've gone relatively direct, so would be relatively surprised if they went for a map sweep here. I'm expecting a bit of upstairs presence and maybe push through laundry, but some of these drones suggesting that it could be a horizontal take. You can see that's where those castle barricades are peppered around by Onigiri to try and counter that. And in fact, Talon looking to take Study across. So it's going to be a full map sweep. Something we haven't really seen them attempt as of yet. Soldier to lead the charge forward. And as you can see on the overhead, it's relatively free airspace at the moment for Talon to post themselves up. Elevate, despite maybe sometimes being a little bit over-aggressive, they're not really doing that at the moment. We saw what Onigiri over towards Brown maybe in the first round, but outside of that, for the most part, it's been relatively calculated.
Really good time management from Talon here. They make the call early. They've been able to sweep the entire top floor within the first minute, and now they're making contact on the first point of interest. Got to be careful here. DCH, that is a really awkward encounter. Canos does not make any mistakes on the entry. A quick double, and no one from Elevate is even close to responding.
Onigiri tried, but against the LMG, the UMP, not really going to do much. A little bit late on the trade, and now Elevate stranded down below, and you can see up above already Talon getting to work. They have the breaching charges, they have the sledge, and that hammer's so powerful. Nades as well can be sent down below. From this point onwards, it's Talon's to lose. They have 60 seconds to prepare for the push. The nitros from Elevate haven't hit the mark. This should be a relatively straightforward round. Now Mark is flanking though, so he could be the potential win condition here for Elevate.
Certainly if he can get to the top of red. Really just the big question becomes when and where is his attention going to be put. Soldier just taking a little bit of damage through the vertical there. Good thing for Elevate, they've still got the information up with Pulse, but I mean, I don't really know how much he's going to be able to get done, especially with these vertical lines being open and established. Talon really just have so much going for them in this round. Mark, no clue as to where Hetty is, and this is done. It's over. Just move on. There's Mr. Punch. Certainly tries. Tries is the key word there, Guz.
Not really much of an opportunity to get back in towards that one. Too much damage done on the top floor too early into the round. The roam from Elevate doesn't work out. Talon with the first map sweep of the game. Pulls it off. Canos, what an entry. Quick one onto DCH, and Onigiri swung instead of just shooting straight away on towards that angle where he may have been able to keep it a 4v4 for at least a little while longer. Not meant to be though. Elevate now rotate back to AVG.
Maybe I'm looking at that a little bit too under the microscope, but it does feel like there's no way Canos should be able to make his way through to stat with such almost flawlessness. There's no hesitation whatsoever there. And sure, you're being live droned, so you get all that little additional information. But especially when there's two players from Elevate up on that floor, they have to be able to hold that down a little bit better. So if they ever do go back to that site, I'd be really keen to see how they tackle that top floor sweep, because it was pretty flawless. But if Canos doesn't find both there, time wasted, maybe another player comes up in the form of Mark, maybe he's there to support. So I would dare say we won't see... We will not be seeing Kitchen for another 3 rounds, so just hold on tight now. Back across to AVG, and really this was Talon's round to lose, and they lost it, guys. So provided they keep on the track of pretty much the exact same journey they were on in the last round, I feel like this should be an easier little sweep.
They did kickstart that previous attempt with a lot of good control over towards top Brown. But Onigiri, in the opening portions of this 4th round, drops Canos. That means there's no adrenal surges now available. That's an LMG off the board. A couple of nades as well. A lot of utility for Talon goes begging. They do still have the Flores though. You can see Aziz getting to work now with those Roteros, and his aim is going to be to clear these shields, clear this utility, but Mute Jam is getting in the way.
Yeah.
And it's also being actively watched.
I'd have to look back, but I actually think that that's where things faltered for Elevate in the previous round. Either it was a nade or some form of utility to get rid of those Mute Jammers that were on the study door. really, it just impacted the round so much. And now you can see the use of the Rotero drones are really trying to come in and be a nuisance, but it doesn't seem like they've had a hell of a lot of success with it. ADS is gone, but Soldier, what's he going to do? Is he going to contest ECH once again? Tries to hold the line and will be forced to back away. All Rotero drones have been used now, so nothing for the side.
Not just Soldier to make a play. Needs to straight up win the 1v1 gunfight, but the smoke canisters forcing him back, stalling out the push. DCH holding down the line, swings down to one, swings a second time, but can't get that one. It swings the other way. Talon now at the man advantage.
Kill from Aziz. And Sapper goes down as well. Mr. Punch and Mark, the two newbies, have to step up here for Elevate. They really want this one slipping away, especially after the opening pick of Onigiri. Things looked pretty decent. They were able to stall out those Rotero drones, but things have really crumbled by the wayside. C4 in hand. I just don't like their chances in a 4v2.
You did see Talon struggle to push in last time, though, and if Mr. Punch can maybe get a kill, get aggressive, could swing the back once more. Good angles in towards study here for Elevate. Mr. Punch probing, but can't find much. Mark taken low, now one shot. Punch responds, though, for one. Needs to find three more, but it's the swing from behind, and Talon get the round.
All too clinical from Talon there. Really well done to trade out efficiently. I thought DCH Toms was going to do a lot of damage, and unfortunately it kind of crumbles away after he finds that first down. Maybe overextends a little bit, as we saw Onigiri do in the very first round. Regardless, though, the Roteros having their use and worth their weight in gold for the main stairs control, so you can't complain there. Two apiece. We're moving across the trophy and stat.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Definitely feels like a lot of these rounds are seesawing in the sense that Elevate, they're either winning rounds off the back of I guess calculated aggression might be one way to phrase it, or they're losing the rounds off the back of that aggression. Whether it be they have the advantage and they throw it away trying to over-aggress and double down on that advantage, or having to force a play because they're not in favourable positions. Either way, Talon making the most of it. 2-2 at the moment, decent scoreline. They did just win AVG, the site in which they lost off the bat, showing signs of improvement, and if that flows on to the next couple of objectives, that's where Elevate start to get a little bit worried.
And we did say, you know, really 4-2, especially with a two-round start for Elevate. 4-2 was kind of, for me, the pass mark that I needed to see if Onigiri and the rest of this team were going to have the impact enough to potentially steal it away from Talon. Remembering Villa is Talon's map pick. That was what I was looking for. I like the deployable shield on the A-bomb chassis. That's kind of nice. Pulls it away from bricks, where so often we see a lot of players contest toward Master. And the big thing for me here, I don't know whether you have mentioned this, guys, but obviously the lack of Maverick and the Habana being replaced this time around, I feel like this is a much better attacking lineup for this site.
Already boosted their chance to win the round significantly.
Yeah.
Two mute jammers though to contest, at least on the triple wall, so we may well need to see someone from Talon go down below. Looks like that might be Demic. He can use his grenades to clear one or more of those mute jammers, just ensuring that he's not going to get flanked. At the moment, not a serious threat. I believe Mr. Punch is down over towards red stairs, but not really much of a concern at the moment. That allows the sledge now to hook these nades, a ping to assist. Might even get a kill here.
Oh my god! How is he alive? One of the jammers, in fact, hasn't broken off, and if he sticks around any longer, he may well have been to his own demise, but it's not to be. Demic, both nades used now. Still two more on Canis, but decent time efficiency here for Talon.
Yeah, it's not bad. Need to start working the triple wall now. Right on cue, it is opened up. Elevate are feeling the pinch a little bit. No serious engagements as of yet. Just DCH low from the earlier grenade. Onigiri forfeits Astro. Talon sense that. Will now move across, but Sapper retakes. Drones down below for Talon if they want to get those up the stairs and just confirm this position, but Sapper's snake in the midst, really. Behind these box positions, he either dies here or he gets a couple of kills, one or the other.
really comes down to the efficiency of Talon's droning, and I like this from Mr. Punch. Thing is, you can't wait too long. Sapper's going to swing at the right time, but he can't find enough of the kills. Canos with a lovely shot. Onigiri with a quick trade as he pulls out a split. Heady, very quick to respond, and my God, it's just game of trades at the moment. Demic, I think they know that Mr. Punch is behind. Drone shot, and back the way he will go. With 15 seconds left here, Talon, they've got to make this work.
Oh, DCH. All but seals the deal. Canos force deep with the LMG in hand. But there's just too many angles to watch. Mr. Punch relocates up above and gets the round for Elevate.
Something we were talking about with, you know, where Mr. Punch was at. Over toward Pantry, you can be quite a nuisance. You can be quite deadly and dangerous. But if you leave it too long, especially on Stat and Trophy, the impact that you can have is just, it's gone. If you do not kind of step into it at the right time, the whole point of the flank can just quickly be lost in the sauce. Very much so. But this is what we needed from Elevate. They've now kind of brought that little momentum swing back that Talon was seeming to have. And locking this out in a 4-2 half would be right on cue for Elevate.
Well, it's 1-1 on this site. We saw Elevate open up their account with a win. Arguably, probably should have gone Talon's way. And then Talon themselves respond on the second attempt. And actually, despite having a bit of a rough start, man disadvantage, able to bring it back. And it's a big round this. Elevate, if they win, path of the course, 4-2 Villa defense. And if not, though, a 3-3 scoreline, arguably favoring Talon heading into the second half. And I think it's probably fair to say generally playing a little bit cleaner at the moment.
Bomb located by attackers.
Still waiting for players really on both ends of the spectrum here to kind of step into it, you know, step into the fold, have those massive impacts. I truly do look to Canis and on Talon and likewise for Elevate. I mean, you could take your pick really. Sapper could have been massive in that last round, but was so quickly shut down. Like this from DCH. Get up close and personal just to begin with. You just got to show face for a little while before you start to really put the emphasis in the pressure on. Nades now being used. And then one left for Canis.
DCH has been under so much pressure in these AVG attempts and unfortunately unable to cut down the Roteros like he did last time. That means the shield's now gone and he'll be pressured from this stairs position as well as the entry from study balcony, maybe even the window as well. He decides though to stay put. Mark supporting from library, so Elevate looking to aggress.
I really like this. I really like this, Mark. Has got to be so careful not to fall here. And he's just being pinched. Absolutely no shot. He's being done through the drone hole. Of all things, through the drone hole. Love that from Talon. They had about 3 or 4 players converging on his point. And so far, Talon are absolutely in the advantage.
Make or break now for DCH. Does he elect to stand his ground and try to cut back this attack? Or does he try to retreat to site? That doesn't seem safe either. Onigiri taking damage. DCH, he aggresses, but immediately shut down. Not going to be able to win that one out. 5 versus 3. Talon with a strong advantage and so much time remaining.
Oh my God, Sapper. Dry peeking down, classical. Got to be so cautious there. You fall, and so too do the 3 smoke babes in your pocket. Instead, buys a bit more time, which is really important for this part.
Rotero opens another entryway, further pressuring this position. Mr. Punch once more finds himself in probably the power position, but surely he'll be cut down. Sapper, only 1 gas canister now remains. 30 seconds left. Talon looking to converge.
Util game has been on point here for both sides, but Talon really have just absolutely minced through Elevate. 20 seconds, last smoke babe is used, and this could be absolutely devastating. They can't capitalize on it.
Sapper survives. Now close with the shotgun. Oh my. Onigiri elsewhere onto Soldier. It's falling apart for Talon, but Aziz bites back. Now Sapper, we go back to him behind the bar, drops the first. That's Heady, looks for the second. That's Demic. Elsewhere, Mr. Punch gets in on the action, but Aziz commits to the plant. The push through from Demic is great. Now it's a 1 versus 1, but Elevate able to hold on. They lean into time, and they do a decent job in closing out the half.
Really lovely work there from Mr. Punch. And who was it? It was Sapper behind the bar, wasn't it? I think
Yep.
the smoke. Really, that is absolutely pivotal. The shotgun play, just being able to buy time and putting all the attention across to where the planner is. Mr. Punch able to kind of assassinate in many ways. And because the time is so low, it's just picture perfect. But I want to take it a step back. The use of Talon's util there was just so damn good for the first half of the round. And then when we got to, you know, phase 2, phase 3, things really broke down for a multitude of reasons. So just so many little pieces to that puzzle there that if one goes missing, completely different storyline.
Well, we've seen a lot of AVG so far, and we're going to see it once more here. Talon electing to head there for the first defensive effort. Probably expecting top round to be center stage once more. There's a deployable shield in the hands of Heady, and he'll plop that down. Slight variation in position compared to Elevate. They sort of hugged it over towards the right near the railing. Heady, though, will hug it to the left wall. ADS devices in the shadows. They'll be aiming to prevent any projectiles from clearing that shield. Interestingly, though, from Elevate, they're not bringing the Flores to counter that. We saw the Vateros be so powerful for Talon, but Elevate completely forfeiting that. Instead, they're bringing Blitz and a Capitao, which is not something we see every day in 2022.
No, not even remotely. Not even remotely. In fact, we saw it a little bit yesterday from Elevate, but I feel like it really did not have any impact of substantial value to the round. So definitely without the Roteros, things look a lot more interesting.
Oh.
This is a way to do it though, but everyone's falling around him, guys. It doesn't make a difference. They've just dropped 2 players and like flies.
The entry cut down. Had it still be a 5 versus 5, Elevate would have been a great position, but DCH just sends it in towards sight. Elevate have completely thrown this round. They go for the cheese strat. It has completely fallen apart, and even when they still had an opportunity to bring it back, they continue to throw. Very, very disappointing here from Elevate. Mr. Punch in the 1 versus 5. Elevate left to contemplate that round.
And please, I would beg them to as well. That is just so not good enough from Elevate. On the back of being able to break the momentum of Talon in that last 2 rounds in the first half, to then come into the second half and throw something like that out there, I'm just not a huge fan of it. And I understand the whole premise behind it. If that pays off, the tilt factor for Talon is unbelievable. Elevate get a freebie.
Well, the thing was, they actually achieved their goal of not having to play the util game on top round. Elevate don't really thrive in that environment, right?
Yeah.
Where they have to dump utility and get that timing down pat. It's really not one of their strengths. So it worked in that sense. It was just Talon was so switched on and cut them down at the knees at the study entry. Which meant that... Sorry, I almost just fell over.
Yeah, you almost carked.
Which meant that even when they had top round control, it was for nothing. And yeah, so a little bit disappointing. But you look at the half glass, the glass half full side of that story, and Talon, they weren't shy. You know, they backed off and forfeited top round, but then their other players on site switched on. So it was really nice.
Which, in stark contrast to what we saw from Elevate in 2 of their 3 defenses, they kind of doubled down on Brown. You know, you saw DCH multiple times take fights that were unfavorable at the best of times and then continue to push on. Agiri in the very first round ran all the way down Brown. So very much 2 sides of a different coin, 2 sides of the same coin, sorry, and just showing the kind of effectiveness of how you decide to play. And that round in particular does make me worry a little bit for Elevate here.
Well, they've given up on the cheese in the second round, right? Flores now back in play. Habana as well for the triple wall. Sapper, interestingly enough, going on to Ash. I guess still some opportunity for those explosives to get into play. But doesn't really see a whole lot of play time at the moment when you have Zofia, LMG. So I guess it may well just be a comfort pick there for Sapper 3 speed as well, so it can get a little bit aggressive in the faces of Talon. At the moment, though, Elevate on the balcony. Onigiri with the quick entry. Needs to be mindful of maybe a Nitro down below, but it doesn't look like that's being occupied by Talon. Over the wall goes a grenade that clears it. Really well played by Elevate. I'm sure Mark will come alongside quickly with X-Kairos to open up that wall.
Really, I mean, considering there's only a minute gone, this has been rapid. They have really not mucked about in taking this control. Onigiri is going to be so careful in this position. Overextends toward Brick, and you will be punished. God, he loves that weapon. And I'm sorry, but I feel like in a prone position where you are completely stuck, you are going to be punished. Have they even got the triple wall open yet? No. Oh my word.
Mark's dropped off the balcony as well, so I don't think Elevator are even going to worry about the triple wall. I guess they only have 2 X-Kairos remaining, so pretty tough to make a move from here. Everyone will just wait for these players to line up. It's a 2-2 split for Elevate. 2 over towards the south and 2 a little bit closer by the objective down at the northeast.
That's really gnarly. That had to have been, in that case, had to be the Electroclaw that just completely deleted all of the X-Kairos on there. And because that nade had been thrown over previously, I am certain Soldier had pocketed an Electroclaw. So really, really love that from Talon. And now Elevator scrambling. They've got no info whatsoever. They've only got 2 drones available. And with 40 seconds left, I don't think this is enough to work with.
They're still droning. The game side of the map, Elevate, don't know if it's clear. We have the privilege of the outlines and know that it is at least up to Skull.
Oh.
That's where Demic's ready and waiting. He gets the first. It's a down onto Sapper the Nitro. In response, the boost actually picks Sapper back up. Heady elsewhere drops 1, and the Demic is traded. Soldier gets his second. Now Mark and Mr. Punch, they need to try and push through, but Soldier wins that fight. It's a 1 versus 1. 10 seconds remain. Mr. Punch has the diffuser. He has a little bit of time to work with. Canos. He's patient. He pushes forward over towards Astro. Mr. Punch needs to stick. Canos needs to swing. But he swings the wrong direction. Mr. Punch, he bounces back up, holds down the line. Canos to swing, but against the LMG, he's not winning that one. And Elevate somehow make that round work.
That's unbelievable. If you had told me with 40 seconds left, I would have said, write the round off. Don't care about the man, like I don't care where the round is at, a 4v4. I think in this position, it's done for.
I mean, what is going on? Like, Demix is such a good spot, right? He gets the down, then Mr. Punch activates the adrenal surge. They Sapper's back up, then the swing from Mark. Soldier was one shot, but then eventually got traded out for the 1v1. And then Mr. Punch, I mean, Canos just swung the wrong way.
Yeah.
Simple as that. If he had swung a little bit further out to the left, yes, time would have been really, really close, but I would have doubted Mr. Punch would be able to get his aim back up and hit the shot. So it's just small little micro adjustments like that throughout the entirety of the round, really, that did cost Talon. Credit to Elevate, though. Backs against the wall, triple wall not open, still made it work. And Mr. Punch as well, 11 and 3. He's been on fire.
I was just about to make the comment here. The 2 young gunners, one for Elevate, one for Talon. I mean, Mr. Punch is really stepping up at a moment of need for Elevate. He's only died 3 times out of a possible 8 rounds so far. That's pretty damn good. And then I look to Soldier, who has had small impacts that have really kind of accumulated into a little bit more of a polished look on the KD ratio. But at the end of the day, I think Elevate are a little bit fortunate there. I think that the game, again, at the start, is played so perfectly from Talon. And then it's just when push comes to shove, when it's really about who wins their ones, just crumbles.
Yeah, Talon have... They had the foot on the throat, honestly, after that first round. Elevate went for the cheese play and completely failed. Then had a disadvantaged position, and Talon didn't quite make them pay. Right now, if we were sitting at a 4-4 scoreline, Talon with a bit of momentum, very tricky to see Elevate starting to mount a comeback of their own, but they do alleviate that a little bit. Penultimate match point as well already for Elevate. They find themselves in a pretty powerful position, and again, if Mr. Punch can continue to step up on that Finker roll with the LMG, it's going to be hard to shut down Onigiri. Uncharacteristic of him to be quiet. 5 and 7, but he gets the first pick in the 9th round.
He's had 1 or 2 opening kills so far this game, and we've seen the impact in this playoff so far as to how crucial they can be. One thing I was going to note for the defensive Talon is I much prefer the lineup that they're bringing versus the lineup that said Elevate were bringing on this exact same site. Just felt a little bit, I don't know, like something was missing. When you've got the, when you've got the Banshees, the Lucy Gadget. It works a lot better on that top floor hold because Elevate can't just do what Talon did, which is walk into stat and find kills. Although they may try. I'll say that. They may try.
90 seconds now remain. Elevate continue to converge on these positions. DCH finds Canos. Soldier up above. The X factor for Talon in this round. Heady's under so much pressure. He's not going to be able to do much, and I don't think Demic's really in play either. It's up to Soldier. Up above, but the pressure's horizontal. Heady forced to swing. Heady's taken low. Sight, he's cleaned up. Soldier forced to drop. Mark for the plant, but it's a 1v5. He gets one. Mark off the plant. Soldier low though, and Sapper able to get that one.
Just goes to show, doesn't matter how good your idea is, how good your operator selection phase is.
You were hyping them up there, Rob.
I was, because I much prefer, you know, the Aruni to the castle, especially on something like that. I think that it's a far more efficient way, and it doesn't hinder the defense at the same time as it hinders the attack, if that makes sense. Banshees work perfectly, but it did not make a difference. When you're finding picks elsewhere, when you're finding picks early from Elevate, it just leaves far too much of a gap, and Talon have well and truly taken the tack. 6-3.
And just to confirm, this is Talon's map pick, right?
Yep, Villa is their map. We go to Skyscraper next, which for viewers that don't remember, this is where it was the Game of Throws for Talon versus Direwolves when we went to Skyscraper, which was the third map, not the second map. So Talon, I'm sure, are not happy with this situation.
They're under a bit of pressure.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused.
And maybe it's some APAC South bias, I'm not too sure, but I've seen Elevate play better than this. Maybe I'm on the copium a little bit, but this has not been their greatest game, and to be able to put up such a good fight against Talon, push it to match point already, it's got to be concerning. And then Skyscraper, a map which Elevate has had some really spicy close games of their own and shown promise. Talon, like you mentioned, the Game of Throws where they lost out.
That's so bad.
They could have been already in the major, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to go back and sort of relive that memory.
Oh, God.
I do not envy Talon at the moment. Now,
No.
again, we have to be slightly reserved. A 3-6 is not impossible to come back from, but that's a full rotation. They need to win a full rotation on Villa.
Yep.
And they haven't looked amazing so far. So things need to change up ASAP. Because the only round that they did win was the quote-unquote gift from Elevate, where they did the cheese strat and it failed.
Yeah. It's actually a really good point, considering this is the defense of Villa. This is just not hitting the mark to the extent at which we thought. But this is one thing with Elevate that has been and forever will be really hard to contend with. Surely they're not even thinking about it. Surely they're not thinking about it.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I am B1.
Onigiri.
Oh, God.
He initiates the grapple straight into 90. The LMG holding down the long hallway, and the sound cue not strong enough. Talon have absolutely no clue. Aziz in the back of the head. Onigiri hunts for more, and there's no call. Onigiri's just in. He's in. He gets a second. There's a third down on the stairs. That means there's only 2 remaining. Elevate on the verge of closing out Talon's map pick. It's a 1 versus 5. It's a none versus 5. Elevate come out of the gate strong. They are pushing hard for this spot at the major. Map 1 goes their way.
What a strat to finish on. If we thought the first round of their attack was a cheese strat, what about that? All it was, the Dokkaebi call. Onigiri sends it through the window and finds a triple. Not one player knew anything from Talon. 7-3. That is unbelievable. We were sitting there saying, oh, Villa, this has got to be Talon's map. This is just, let's move to Skyscraper. We'll give them the 1-0 up.